Hey guys, it's Dean. Welcome to the Better Man podcast. Today's episode is a interview with Caroline of Beam Minerals, and get ready to rethink everything you thought about mineral health. So this episode was very informational for me. I learned a lot about common practices that most people are doing to seemingly improve their mineral health, and really it's not helping. Things like taking magnesium supplements at night or taking magnesium to help with cramps, and why that might not actually be helping and why it could be making things worse. And this episode really involves a paradigm shift in how we think about health at one of the most basic levels, which is our mineral health. It affects everything that our body does in terms of how much nutrients do we absorb from things. It affects our physical performance. It affects sleep, energy, motivation. So it was just a really informational episode. I would highly recommend you listen, learn some stuff, and if you want to take action based upon it, do it. But I hope this inspires you to be a better man. I hope you learn something and enjoy this episode. Hey guys, it's Dean. Welcome to the Better Man podcast. Today I've got Caroline from Beam Minerals here, and we're going to have a conversation. So Caroline, thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you, Dean.
Yeah. So I met Caroline at the Fit Father Project live event in August of 2025, which is, oh my gosh, that was last year at this point almost. And there were a bunch of vendors in the room. And so, I'm there with my Manful Yoga booth and Jesse and a few other Manful Yoga volunteers. And so I get to, walk around and meet everybody. And I gravitate over to this booth in the corner, and I'm always like, if I grab the free samples, then I have to have a conversation. But I did it anyways. And I was like, I saw Beam Minerals. And I'm like, I already take minerals. I've got my trace minerals that I ordered from Amazon. And then he said, and I talked with Dan, who is your husband.
My business partner.
Business partner, sorry. And he told me all the things that I was getting wrong. I was like, well, I know that, we need more minerals because our soil is crap and there's not enough nutrients in our food. And so we need to get it through trace minerals. He said, well, yeah, that's part of it, but here's what you're missing. So let's kind of pick it up there with what do I need to know? What am I missing? What are most people missing when it comes to this topic?
Yeah. It's a whole paradigm shift. And the paradigm shift is from thinking about your body as like a mechanical vehicle. So something where you can, fill up the magnesium tank, fill up the potassium tank, fill up the zinc tank, that you're going to just put stuff in and it's going to land. So the paradigm shift, and we've grown up with that because we've grown up with these things called minimum daily allowances, recommended daily allowances, and you see them on the supplemental food, supplemental facts panel or the nutritional facts panel on foods. And the problem is that those have misled people, particularly related to minerals. Okay, because minerals are nature's fuel for cellular systems. Now, minerals and amino acids, they both are the fuel for your cells. However, your body makes a lot of amino acids. It makes no minerals. And you need, depending on who you're talking to, you need between 18 and 22 minerals. And let me provide a little context because it's really helpful for people to understand how their vehicle works. You would never buy a car if you didn't know how to fill up the gas tank, but most of us are walking around in bodies and we have no idea actually how they're fueled. Okay. So I use a description. If you were going to have a campfire, you'd have to have some wood and probably some paper or tinder to get that wood started. And you would need a match. Now, inside your cells are where your campfires live. And the match is your mitochondria. The mitochondria are the tool for igniting the fuel into energy that you can utilize. The fuel itself The wood and the paper is minerals and amino acids. They are the fuel for your vehicle. So if you don't have enough of this basic fuel, you end up with a very weak campfire. Okay? And let's get a sense of the scale of this. Okay? Your body, which is completely made of single cells that miraculously work together to do all of the functions that you need. They allow me to sit here talking to you, moving my hands, thinking, hundreds of autonomic processes happening in the background. Every single cell in your body knows what its function is and does its best to do that function. Okay. But all of those cells require energy, and that energy is generated via mitochondria inside the cells. Now, your entire body made of about maybe 37 trillion, if you're a small person, to 150 trillion cells. Okay. Now, the mitochondria in your cells is not like one mitochondria to one cell. On the back of my hand, in one cell, I might have 200 mitochondria. In my heart, in a single cell, there could be 5,000 to 8,000 mitochondria. And in my brain, in a single neuron, there could be upwards of 2 million mitochondria, one single neuron. Okay? So what you have to recognize is, and these mitochondria are working moment by moment by moment, generating energy. And they're using fuel that you put into your body to do that. If you don't have enough fuel, and the people that I speak with say that modern humans have maybe 40% of the minerals that they need. Now, you probably, because you eat really well and you take really good care of yourself, I'm sure you have more. But unless you're using a real full spectrum, very bioavailable mineral replenishment tool, you're still not hitting that 100%. So what happens is your body has to pick and choose what it can do and what it can't. So it keeps all of the functions happening, but it keeps sending a message to your system. Things aren't right here. I need something. I need something. Something's not right here. I need something. And that amps the nervous system up. And now people who think that the stress is coming from the outside, much of that stress is coming from the inside because their bodies don't have at a single cell level what they need to fulfill all their functions. In fact, this widespread mineral deficiency there's a term for it, and they call it the hidden hunger. And the hidden hunger is that feeling that there's just something missing, and it sends you to the fridge an hour after you eat your dinner looking for something sweet or something salty and crunchy, something, because what do hungry cells crave? They crave sugar and salt. So this is like the kind of the context that I want to bring to the conversation. Minerals, they're not only the structural substrate of everything in the universe, they also are the cellular fuel for every single cell on the planet.
Okay. Wow. Where do we go from here?
Yeah. So here's the thing. So you realize that we're not fueled. And so that's why we have a raft of chronic symptoms. So if your body can't do everything, it says, well, I'm going to keep your brain going, but we're going to have brain fog because there's 2 million mitochondria in a single neuron. And if you don't have enough minerals to fuel all those, you get that brain fog. Okay. If you're not able to just generate enough energy, it's hard to get off the couch. It's like, I'm just not disciplined enough to get to the gym, when really you literally don't have enough energy to get to the gym. And then your body over time, especially as you get older, starts developing chronic health issues, gut problems, mouth problems, teeth problems, sleep problems. So I'm a really good example of this because I grew up with an autoimmune condition. I had gluten intolerance all my life. I worked in very intense high-tech career. And I ended up burning out of that with flatlined adrenals. I had bad inflammation in my gut, bad inflammation in my mouth, with bone loss in my teeth, and periodontal disease. I didn't sleep. I woke up 3-4 times a night, every night, most of my life. In fact, all of my life until I got remineralized. And I, of course, as things got worse and worse and I hit into perimenopause, I started having really intense exhaustion, all sorts of anxiety, panic, chronic fatigue, you name it. So, because literally my body could never gain any momentum against all of this depletion. Even though I never drank, I never smoked, I was a dancer and choreographer. So I've always been an athlete. I've always taken really good care of my body, but it wasn't enough. And this is what I'm trying to help people understand, is that you can do all of these things for your body, but if you're not providing this foundational fuel, you will struggle to maintain your health over your lifetime. When you're young, you have more mitochondria that are active, and you tend to eat more in general, so you're going to be better off. But as you age, it's going to get harder and harder over time. So the question is, what do we do about it? And that's where I think there's also a lot of confusion. What have you done for yourself around minerals?
Me, I think I saw I remember I saw a review from somebody in the Fit Father Project group. I think I'm in their Facebook group, and I saw someone in the Brotherhood say that, I didn't used to take minerals and now I take minerals, and it's a night and day difference. I was like, okay, cool. I'll take some minerals. And so that's really all my experience. My knowledge is that very general, that we don't get enough minerals because of soil quality depletion.
Yeah.
And so we need to supplement. And so I just have like a little, up until this point, up until I met you guys, I just had my little trace minerals thing that I got from Amazon.
Yeah.
It's like whatever, whichever one is the highest ranking. And I got that one, and the most reviews, and probably like the second cheapest price. And then I squirt that into my water. And that's how I think about minerals. But mostly it's like mostly it's just a non-factor for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and most people won't even get there. The trace minerals are definitely a better solution. And we'll talk about, one of the things that I did as I got remineralized using these plant-based minerals, all of those symptoms that I described, they just resolved. And that's why I ended up doing so much research about mineral depletion and its effects, and then mineral replenishment, how it works.
How long did it take for the symptoms to resolve when you started?
About 8 or 9 months for all of them. I started noticing 2 months. I went to my dentist, and my periodontal disease, like all of the tissues that had been red and inflamed, deep pockets, that was gone. And my dentist was like, whoa, what just happened? Because I had to have my teeth cleaned 5 times a year because of my periodontal disease. So she was amazed. Then 4 months in, I went to my naturopath. I'd had flatlined adrenals for over a year, and we'd been trying all these different things. She'd given me a prescription for hydrocortisone, which I didn't want to take. And at that meeting, my results were 1/3 of the way up the chart, which, after being flatlined for over a year, was a huge change. So over the 8 or 9 months, all of those things that I talked about, I started sleeping through the night, the gut problems, elimination and bloating just went away. The headaches, I had recurring headaches, sleep issues, brain fog, all of these things resolved. And I want to be clear, like, minerals don't heal anything. What they do is provide the fuel, the the energy to your body so that it can do what it naturally can do. Because your body is a natural ecosystem. One of the most amazing things about ecosystems in general is left alone and given what they need, they will balance and heal. And that is your body. So, but you have to actually give it what it needs at that very foundational level. And so many people are using so many high level, biohacking tools, but they're not doing the foundation. And without this mineral foundation, I talk to every biohacking tool, every biohacking supplement and all of the experts agree that without minerals, their tools do not work. So it's the first thing you can do. And in fact, you should do. And the practitioners that we work with, who report that people used to come with 1 or 2 chronic issues, now come with 5 or 6. And the first thing that our practitioners do is say, here are the minerals, take these for a month, and then we'll talk. So they just start with that foundation, and then everything else they can gain momentum in their health. They start having energy. And we can talk about, I want to talk about replenishment because there's a lot of confusion because, people are using magnesium as an example for sleep, or athletes use a lot of salt-based electrolytes, for training exercises. I mean, lots of people use salt-based electrolytes, and it's really a misunderstanding about how minerals work in the body, and it ultimately leads to continued imbalance in the body's ecosystem, and particularly in the gut.
So I want to bring up biohacking for a second. So if you're not familiar with biohacking, I'm sure that you can give a much better explanation of what biohacking is. But as someone who has kind of been in biohacking world and out of it and then back in it and then out of it again, and 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of thing. Biohacking, I've seen in this world, there are a ton of people with autoimmune conditions where modern medicine has kind of failed them. And so they're out looking for these other solutions. And so, there's a lot of, this is where you find, like red light therapy, or like, why should I cold plunge, or like sauna, or, in this example, mineralization. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of these things that, can be seen kind of as, I wouldn't call cold plunging a foundation. I think based on this conversation, I would say mineralization seems to be much more of a foundation than cold plunging. But you just kind of look at these practices that have helped people get results where more traditional methods have not. So, this is kind of like, that's like my introduction to like, this is the biohacking world. And anyways, just bringing that up in case you haven't been in biohacking world, that's been my experience with it.
Yeah. And I think really the inception of biohacking, which, people call Dave Asprey the father of biohacking because he kind of first coined the term. But it was really about taking a proactive approach to your health rather than waiting till you get sick and going to the doctor, saying, okay, what are the ways that I can support extreme performance, longevity, and health in my body instead of waiting for it to slowly break down and, in fact, age backwards, So there's lots, and there's so many good things about that. And then there are also the challenging things that, because the only challenge that one of the big challenges that I see is that the relationship with the body is something you're going to do things to have an effect, an immediate effect. And if you do that without setting up that foundation with minerals and good diet and, all these things that are going to support that, you can start ending up messing up your metabolism, creating all sorts of imbalance. You can do a lot of, I won't say damage, but you can definitely create problems for yourself. So it's always good to start simple and just start with the foundation and first understand, how does your body work, and the thing that relative to minerals that I like to help people understand is to fuel your body, you've got to get the minerals in your mouth You've got to get them into your gut. You've got to get them absorbed through the lining of your gut into your bloodstream. And ultimately, you've got to get them into your cells. And that is the piece. Those three stages, digestion, absorption through the lining of your gut, and assimilation into the cells, those three stages are key. And most of the minerals that people buy in pill, powder, electrolyte drink form have very, very low bioavailability because one of those stages breaks down. So if you start with just pills and powders that people take in, capsules and stuff, most of those are made from rocks, shells, and bones. Now, your human digestive tract doesn't break those down very well. So a very, very large percentage of that mineral content that you're putting into the mouth goes straight through your system and ends up in the toilet. So you're doing all this due diligence of taking all these pills every day and capsules, and most of it is not even ever getting into your body. So the next, so some portion of it does break down all the way to its chemical components where it can be absorbed through your gut lining into your bloodstream, but that's only two parts of the process. Now you have to get it into your cells. And the problem that many of us have today is that because of toxins that we're encountering in our environment, because of things like seed oils and all sorts of different things, our cell linings are not particularly healthy. And so we have what we call it low cell wall permeability. So all of the nutrition you're putting into your mouth, you need to actually have it get in, and water, not just food, but also water. Hydration means getting water into your cells. And the problem is most of what we're eating is actually, and most of what we're taking is just going straight through us. So the cool thing is that nature actually solved this problem already. And this is what I found out when I really started studying plant-based mineral substances. They're called humic and fulvic. These two molecules, they actually represent a technology, like Mother Nature's technology for remineralizing every cell on the planet. They are a technology for enhancing uptake of nutrients into cells. They're also a technology for detoxification of cells and cellular systems. And that's very important, because our systems are constantly encountering all sorts of different substances and things that cause all sorts of problems, and we need to be able to get those out of our system so that the system can operate efficiently. So it kind of makes sense that nature would solve the problem, considering that it's such a necessary component of cellular life. Minerals are the fuel. So nature said, well, I better get them into the cells. I better make sure it happens,
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we know that these fulvic and what was the other one?
It's called humic. Fulvic. And humic. Yeah.
Okay.
What they come from is decomposed plants, freshwater plants. Okay. So, and our particular products come from, there are many different humic and fulvic substances around the earth. Ours come from a particular material. It's called humate, and it's a black crystalline substance. It comes from about 12 feet below the earth. And how it occurred there is that about 65 million years ago, the earth was covered with rainforests, and a meteor hit the Yucatan, and it killed 75% of all life on earth in a few hours. And all of these rainforests around the earth died and decomposed and became these humic Mainly, they're called humic substances, actually. In the Himalayas, there's shilajit. A lot of people use shilajit as a
I've heard
as
of
a
that.
dietary supplement. It's a humic substance. In the British Isles, they have something called peat, and a lot of people use that. It's a clumpy soil-like substance. There's other materials around the earth, but we use this crystalline substance called humate, and we take that and we extract these two molecules, humic and fulvic. And these two molecules, they both carry all of the minerals your body needs, all of them, in the natural ratios that you need to receive them in. And what's really interesting is that the cells in your body need the same ratios of minerals that a cell in a redwood tree would need, or any cellular, because at the detailed energy generation level, all cells work the same. Certainly you are different than a tree, photosynthesis, different things like that. However, at that energy generation, the mitochondrial level, it works the same, and your body needs the same ratios of minerals. Okay?
So
now, this is one of the big misunderstandings that people have, and when we think about supplementing with minerals, is that the amount of minerals that you have in your body is one part of the equation. The balance between the minerals is equally important. So, as an example, if you use magnesium for sleep, a lot of people are using today magnesium for sleep. They take it before they go to bed, or for elimination. People also use it if they tend to get stopped up. The problem with that is when you put a large amount of magnesium in your gut on a regular basis, your body says, I have got a concentration of minerals here, of a single mineral here, and I need to balance that magnesium with phosphorus and calcium. Now, what it first does is it gathers water from your body to actually try and eliminate the excess. So now you're urinating more to eliminate the excess, or also number two, which is why it helps you eliminate. But it also will try to balance that amount of magnesium in your gut. And it does that by pulling phosphorus and calcium from other parts in your body, which are your bones and your teeth. So not a good thing to do on a regular basis. And in fact, I've worked with trainers of elite triathletes in particular who came to me with their aging athletes starting to experience osteopenia and osteoporosis from just this problem. So, right now there are lots of people who are using salt-based electrolytes on a daily basis, sometimes two or, multiple stick packs a day. And what they're doing is they're trashing their gut microbiome. They're trashing it. They're creating continual imbalance. They're making more work for their body. So it's just a big misunderstanding, the whole concept of minimum RDAs or minimum daily allowance. All this, these were things that were developed in a lab by scientists, and they really have no relevance for you or I, because you and I have different DNA, like genetics. We have different epigenetics. We have different lifestyles. We have different eating habits. We have different health histories. So all of those things affect the way minerals are needed and operate in our body and the balances that we need. So there is absolutely no ChatGPT super, smart AI that could ever tell you how much of any particular mineral you need a day. So you're better off to use nature's tool, which is to provide these extremely bioavailable humic and fulvic substances that are already pre-formulated in the natural ratios that you need. So when you bring them into your body, you're not creating imbalance.
So my kind of question here is, just assuming that just trusting that the nature provides the optimal combination or ratio of these things that support mineral health. Like, why isn't this in the food that is grown? Why isn't this in, I would just assume that if they were not, if I would just assume that they would be in the food that was grown, and they're not.
Yeah. Yeah. So the problem is that modern farming practices have made major problems in our soil. First of all, glyphosate, which kills the microbes in soil. So, and what produces humic and fulvic is microbial processes. Okay. Fulvic is a result of a very specific set of microbial processes that happen during the decomposition of plants. So in nature, what happens is plants grow and they take the minerals from the soil to create all of their structure and to generate the energy for that growth. And then at some point they die and they decompose and they deliver all of their nutrients back into the soil as humic and fulvic that are then available for future plants to grow, right? So that's the way nature works in a forest.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do is we cultivate, and we've been doing this for hundreds of years. We grow plants in soil, we harvest them. In many cases, we spray glyphosate on them when they're growing or after they're growing. That glyphosate goes into the soil and it literally decimates the microbial aspect of that soil. But we've also taken the plants away from where they were grown and processed them, eat them. We dispose of their waste far from where they're grown. So the soils themselves are extremely depleted of nutrients. So they actually say to get the same nutrition from an apple that your grandfather ate, you'd have to eat 6, some people say 7 or more apples. So extreme change in nutrient density of the food. And the other thing is, if you go out in a apple orchard and you pick an apple, there's some dust on it, hopefully an organic one. And just that humic and fulvic ends up being on the food. And people used to drink water from a stream or water from a well, spring water. These waters all have minerals, but many of us are drinking reverse osmosis or distilled water, and we're not remineralizing that water. And that water just not only goes straight through you, but pulls more minerals from your system. And it has none of the humic and fulvic in it. You see, so what we've done, so humic and fulvic really represent what I call this sustainable loop that nature relies on. Things grow, they ultimately die, they decompose through this microbial process. The energy is stored back in the earth where it's available again for future things to grow. And we've been disconnected from that because of our cultivation and our modern farming practices, so that our foods literally, our systems don't have humic and fulvic in them, and we're disconnected from that loop. So the easiest thing to do is to reconnect that by taking the humic and fulvic into your body. The cool thing is, because your body, the cells in your body evolved the same way all the other cells on the planet evolved. So your body recognizes fulvic. So today, if you've never taken fulvic before you put it into your body, or humic, your body recognizes it immediately and starts utilizing it, it's just a really cool thing. Yeah. No, all you have to do, you can drink it. This is reverse osmosis water. But what I do is I pour my glass of water and then, and I throw my minerals into it.
What's the most stressful part of your day?
And now you've got excellent water. You've got water that's not just going to irrigate you. So irrigation is you put water in, it goes out. The more water you drink, the more you urinate. So what will happen if you have mineralized water is you'll drink less water and feel more hydrated. I work with so many athletes who have this experience from using salt-based electrolytes that actually make you urinate more. There's a whole thing around that we can talk about if you want, but and they get off of the salt-based electrolytes, and finally, for the first time in years, they feel hydrated and they're drinking less water. Yeah.
Okay. Seems simple. So just add to your water and life starts to get better, and you have more energy and things start to work the way they're supposed to.
Yes. Wouldn't it be great if so many more things were that easy? I mean,
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time in like health food stores talking to people who are picking up pill bottle after pill bottle. And they're like, okay, which one should I get? Magnesium glycinate or magnesium gluconate or bisglycinate? What should I be? What do I need? And they've got like 5 or 6 pill bottles. And I'm like, well, how do you know what to take? And they're like, well, my mom told me I need, zinc for my immune system. And my trainer told me I need electrolytes. And my friend told me I should get chromium for my blood sugar, on and on. And what I know, they're going to go home and they're going to start taking a handful of pills, and it's going to last a month or so. And after a month, they're going to go, maybe I don't need to take that one today. I don't really notice a difference from this one. And most of what they buy is going to end up in the supplement graveyard. It's that cupboard that we all have at home filled with bottles of stuff that we didn't notice a difference, and we just didn't want to continue paying for it, and we didn't want to continue taking all those pills. Yeah.
So, unrelated question, but how do you figure out what you need to take? Like, do you have I don't know how would you go about doing that? I mean, is it possible for someone who's not, highly educated in this area to be able to figure out, oh, these are the supplements that I need versus this is what someone else needs?
Yeah. Well, 2 pieces. One is I highly recommend people check out my book, which is coming out, just called The Mineral Reset. You can find it at mineralresetbook.com. And in that book, I have a program, and it's a mineral replenishment program. And I'm going to take people through a process of helping them really get from a depleted state to a replenished state. And it does require a little input of work on one's part to really understand what you're taking and why you're taking it. So you kind of have to look at the stack, or what people call their stack, or their set of pills that they're taking, and really understand what are these, what's in them. But in terms of minerals, so there are a couple ways you could find out if you are mineral depleted by there are 2 tests that I recommend. One is either called a hair tissue mineral analysis. You literally take some hair out of your head and you send it away. The acronym is HTMA. So some people refer to it that way. And that's a good test. The problem is if you color your hair, which many women do, and some men, you can't do hair tissue mineral analysis. So the next thing is something called OligoScan. And OligoScan is a non-invasive test. And they basically take a device and they shine a very strong light, into 4 places on your palm. And it uses something called spectrophotometry. And it's
so many new words.
Yeah, it's used in material science. And the main thing about it is that it will return data in like a few minutes, literally like a minute, I think. It'll tell you, well, if your levels of beneficial minerals, electrolytes, like your macronutrients and your micronutrients, your vitamin levels, as well as your level of oxidative stress, which means like how are you doing, like free radical load in your body, as well as how you're doing in terms of detox, just overall detox, how your detox system is working. You have to be in the presence of one of the practitioners. And if you want, we can throw into the show notes a place where people could find out if they have a practitioner in their area.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's a great idea.
Put that in the show notes.
Just to find out how you're doing. It'll also tell you heavy metals. So the thing is, what are you going to do when you get the information? And that's the trick. And what I'm going to tell you is whether you know you're depleted or not, the answer is humic and fulvic. Because when you start providing the full spectrum of minerals your body needs in this incredibly bioavailable liquid format that requires no digestion, is immediately ready for absorption the minute you drink it. And you do that on a daily basis consistently over weeks and months, your body will naturally replenish and balance all of your minerals. That's the cool thing. because
Wow.
it's an ecosystem. So minerals work in a natural ecosystem way in these very complex relationships with one another. So when you put them into the system in the natural ratios and you do that consistently over time, the body will naturally balance. Now, if you did that consistently, say for 6 months, and then you went and tested, and let's say you found out that your iron was low or some mineral was low, most likely you have some problem in your system like parasites, or you've got yeast proliferation, or you have some other issue. So things like parasites will actually metabolize minerals before you are able to utilize them. Or heavy metals, certain heavy metal toxicities they actually take up the receptor site for beneficial minerals, so you don't actually absorb the minerals that you need because the receptor sites are taken up by the heavy metals. So what that means is you need to do some sort of process to remove the parasites, or remove the heavy metals or deal with the yeast issue, and then those levels will come into balance. You see?
Wow. Okay. So assuming that there's not any of that stuff going on, how long does it take for most people to start to notice the effects of remineralization? And what do you need is it as simple as just just adding it to your water in the morning, or do you have to be more strategic about how you consume it, or what?
Yeah, so we have 2 products, and one is the fulvic product, and fulvic is about enhanced nutrient uptake into the cell. It's literally the delivery system for the minerals into your cell. It carries them in and drops them off, okay? So I say for fulvic, it depends on how depleted you are, but for people who are really depleted, say a bike racer during an event, they take a drink of fulvic. Literally 2 minutes later, they're like, whoa, what just happened? Could I feel that quickly? And we're like, yep, because it's so bioavailable. So literally by the time it hits your stomach, your body's already absorbed some of it. It's an extremely small molecule that can absorb through any tissue. So in fact, you can even spray it on the outside of your body.
Yeah, I did this when I was there because I remember I was having a quad cramp or something, and Dan was like, "Oh, we've got this spray, and we try it." And I'm like, "Okay." And no, it was my hamstring. My hamstring was cramping up, and I used it, and yeah, it's totally legit. Spray it, rub it on, and then I think maybe within 30 seconds, I'm like, "Oh, it's gone." Weird. That's pretty cool.
It's really, and what we say it works like magic, but it's backed by science, because literally the fulvic molecule, if you hold your hand in a fist, that's a cell. Imagine that's a cell. And then think of a head of a pin. That's the size of the fulvic molecule. So any tissue that it touches on your body, it just absorbs right in. So you can spray it on the outside, delivering that full spectrum of minerals to any muscle that's feeling the tiredness from not getting the fuel it needs. So all cramping in the body, all cramping is a result of mineral imbalance or depletion.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So for all my guys who are asking about cramping while doing a single leg bridge.
Exactly.
Now the answer is mineralization instead of more magnesium.
And I'm going to tell you, the magnesium is not going to help. And I'll tell you, so people don't understand that cramping is not always magnesium. It could be totally different for you and I. For me, it could be the relationship between potassium and sodium in my body that can cause cramping. Phosphorus depletion, that can cause cramping. It's just not always magnesium. And the other thing is you spray magnesium on the outside, or maybe you taking magnesium. If you're taking magnesium, you're creating more imbalance in your body, remember? So if you put that, so the way I like to think of it is this. Think about your body more like a forest, okay? If you took a wheelbarrow of magnesium and threw it on the floor of a forest, what do you think would happen to the plants in that area? They wouldn't thrive because that is a concentration of a very powerful substance. And those plants are going to go, oh my gosh, this is too much. They're going to wait for the water to come and they're going to wait for, and then, maybe 6 months later, they're going to thrive. So when you put a large concentration of a single mineral into your gut microbiome is like, oh my gosh, I've got to deal with this and eliminate a lot of it and, deal with this concentration.
Well, kind of the way I'm thinking about it, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is you can have, like, magnesium would be, this is the product of the basics of the minerals, or you could go back and you could get fulvic and you could get humic, and then your body gets to decide from there, like, okay, cool, I can make what I need to using these, versus you give it the end product first, and then you have this improper ratio of different, and then your body has to self-correct, and it does things like you were mentioning, like taking calcium out of bones and causing bone density issues.
That is exactly right. And that's what I say is, rather than thinking,
gold star.
No, that was fantastic, because rather than thinking that we can figure out or know what our body needs at any given moment, instead what we do is we put the minerals in their absolute base components. Some people say, what kind of magnesium do you have in there? Is it gluconate? Is it glycinate? Whatever. And I'm like, no, think of the periodic table. It's Mg. It's the magnesium and its base component molecule ready to be any kind of magnesium your body needs. So you're putting it in there. Now your body gets to decide what it needs, when it needs it, where it needs it, how it needs it, 24/7 at any given moment. So for athletes, that cramping, once you start really replenishing your cells, that the cramping goes down and in many cases disappears altogether. If people are having the cramping during the bridge, I recommend spray on the Instalites before you do your workout onto the areas where you tend to have that cramping. You won't get the cramping. It won't happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So like, let's go to like a most basic plan of what this looks like. So you would get the fulvic, you would get the humic, you do one in the morning, you do one at night, or like, what's the, and we're not talking about, most people in the Manful Yoga community are guys in their 50s, 60s, 40s, 70s. We got recreational athletes, but no one's playing professional football. As far as I know. Well, that's not true. We do work with the NFL Plie, so we had some professional football players as well, but most of them are not professional football players.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm really excited for you community, because you guys are going to, you guys are going to be amazed at the impact it's going to have on all sorts of aspects in that kind of 40 to 65 or 75, that age range. It's truly amazing. So what I'm going to recommend is this. You get the electrolyzed product, and you're going to use that electrolyzed product for energy generation, to support energy generation in your body. Okay. And you're going to use it instead of salt-based electrolytes. You're just going to use that. In the morning, you're going to take 1/2 to 1 full cup. Okay. If you're really going to be active that day, take a full cup. If you're just going to be sitting at your desk working, you could take a 1/2 cup. On top of that, when you fill up your glass of water with your reverse osmosis water or your filtered water, you're going to add another splash in. So you're never drinking empty water. All the water you drink has a little bit of minerals in it. That's really important, and it will increase your overall hydration. Then at night, when you go to bed, you're going to take your MicroBoost. That's our product. That is the humic product. And that's going to help with all of the recovery and detoxification processes. I call MicroBoost Mother Nature's janitor. So it's a large molecule, hangs out in your bloodstream and just gathers biowaste, toxins, heavy metals, glyphosate, nanoplastics, viral detritus, spike proteins, zombie cells, and it just carries them out of your body. So it's incredible to take at night, because at night your body's going through all sorts of recovery processes that only happen when you sleep. So it's a great support to that. You would also take that with some water. So I don't know if any of your people are sensitive. Maybe they have had mold exposure, long COVID, and it's made their system sensitive. Lots of people have that today. You just drink it in a glass of water, and you shouldn't have any problems with any kind of detox symptoms. If you do have any detox symptoms, you're just going to slow up. And there's on the back of the bottle, there's a little QR code. You can scan it, and it'll take you through what's called the slow introduction method. It's a real easy method. You can follow it step by step for introducing humic, which provides that detox element, just to slowly introduce it so you won't have any problems. Okay, so that's it. Literally, the electrolyze is your electrolyte replenisher, energy uptake in the body, energy generation in the body tool. And microboost is the tool for Mother Nature's janitor, just continually cleaning out and supporting recovery and regeneration in your body.
Okay.
That cool. Is and then you can use the spray, the Instalight spray, as the tool for just if you're dealing with any cramping, you just spray it on. Now, for those people in your community that deal with night cramping, I'm telling you that all cramping in the body is a sign of mineral depletion. So if you start taking these regularly, we actually have a cramp-free guarantee. If you take these for 2 to 4 months, we will give you your money back if your cramping is not so reduced that, it only happens when you climb a mountain or something, or do a marathon. So we will give you your money back if you do not have a complete change. We have a cramp relief kit on our website. So yeah, that's the story, cool. Dean.
Okay. Awesome. And by the way, I've just so totally transparent. I've been taking Beam since since August, and since ends of August. And I think I've done exactly what I've strove to do exactly what you mentioned. I do the electrolyze in the morning. I do the microboost at night. Although I did run out of the electrolyze, so I've just been using microboost all the time. Because that's all I had. But
we're gonna get you some more.
Yes, please. And I do like the spray does work. It's pretty cool. I think I also have a lab. Is there a lavender spray that you have?
Yeah, we have a spray. It's called Boo Boo Lights. So Boo Boo Lights is incredible for bee stings, burns, bug bites. It literally, or even a scrape, some small, cut. It's incredible for removing pain almost instantaneously when you spray it on, or itching, burning, stinging.
I'm gonna have to use that with my son.
Yes.
When he hits himself and says, I need a Band-Aid. No, you need this spray.
Lights. Pretty sure you'll be asking for it.
Yeah. We'll have to look at it. No, that's not bad enough. No, that's not serious enough of an injury. That's just a wipe it off situation. Is there some sort of promo code you can give our audience?
Yes, and we'll get that to you, and we'll put it in the show notes for you. Okay, I don't know what it is right at this moment, but we'll make sure that it's in the show notes so people can access it.
Okay, cool. All right, well, there you have it. There will be a promo code in the show notes, people.
Awesome.
So, well, where can people learn more if they want to read up on this stuff?
Yeah, I would recommend people go to beamminerals.com. We have a great learn section if you want to read more, understand more. If you're interested in learning more about my book, you can go to mineralresetbook.com, or you could also follow me on social at carolineallen.official. And I would love to meet anyone. Please send questions via our info at Beam Minerals or through our Instagram account. We have really good people who will answer, and in some cases I'll also be answering. All right.
Okay, cool. All right, Caroline. Well, thank you so much for your time. This is great. And I really enjoyed meeting you at the Fifth Father Project Live event. By the way, guys, all Caroline talked about today was minerals, but when we spoke, we just talked about life, and she's an amazing human being. So I really appreciate the conversation we have.
Thank you so much, Dean. That's really, I appreciate it. I feel the same way about you. All right.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this one.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Dogs are barking. Time to go. All right, guys. Hope this inspires you to be a better man. I'll see you on the next episode. All right, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode with Caroline. Again, we've put everything that was mentioned is going to be in the show notes below. So check that out wherever you're listening. And be sure if you want to try this for yourself, it sounds like be a great idea. I am using this myself, if I haven't mentioned that already, which I did. But make sure you use the promo code. It'll be in the show notes. So check that to make sure you get the promo code. Try it for yourself. If you're enjoying this podcast, please leave a review. You can do it wherever you listen to the podcast. You can also listen to the podcast ad-free in the Manful Yoga app and members area. It's also on the Better Man Podcast YouTube channel if you want to watch video versions. Yeah, guys, if you're ever thinking of joining the Manful Yoga community, you can get a free 7-day trial at manfulyoga.com/join. And then if you want to just try out Manful Yoga for yourself, for free, no credit card, check out manfulyoga.com/7DC. Try out our free 7-day beginner's yoga for men challenge. So hope you guys are enjoying this podcast. I hope it's beneficial. And I will see you guys on the next one.